Hello, everyone. Well, today we're going to talk about how do I even start it? So there's something that is sort of rambling in the back of my head, I guess. Um, I've just watched the new series Love, Death and Robots, and Love, Death and Robots is this compilation of really short films. It's amazing to see how each independent story has a lot more oomph. It keeps you coming back for more as compared to all the other films that has been shown these days. For example, Captain Marvel and Star Wars, and the idea that the only difference why we like certain things is because we follow the human condition. Now, as you know, things are not looking so well for society. We seem to have everything too easy these days, and the more we live in a more comforted places, we find faults in the smallest things. So one of the things that we know for sure that we're comfortable already is the fact that we are living so much better as compared to our grandparents before. Now, we've gone through a whole lot of shit where women couldn't vote and now women can vote. That's the number one thing that people think about these days. And demand and equality, right? Like now we've come to a point where, well, now let's make women men, right? I mean, let's blur the lines of where these things are, and but only cherry pick the ones which are easy. So it used to be thousands or hundreds of years ago. It used to be that men worked at life and death risking jobs, and no women wanted to be part of that. Well, air conditioning has come out, and suddenly, oh, we want equality. It's like one of these weird things that people have these days. So basically, we're talking about Love, Death, and Robots today. Love, Death, and Robots is this. And particularly, we're going to look at one episode and we compare that to why that is different as compared to Captain Marvel. As we know, the things that make films really good films is when you follow the normal human ethos, the human condition where you have a person, normally a hero, who has some sort of weakness, and you're struggling with that weakness, or you're abandoning your responsibilities because of that weakness, and then so only to realize that the only way for you to conquer things is by conquering your own fear and conquering your weaknesses, and then fighting the things that make things corrupt. Yeah. So in most cases, it's like a prince, and then the prince has to fight and goes into the unknown, to the dark forest somewhere, and fight some dragon, just to win the heart of the princess. To always have a reward behind it. Now, what's interesting to that is, even the story of Adam and Eve is also one of these stories. You can even consider Eve as one of the heroes who just decided to eat this apple, although people told them, like, don't eat that apple, but you still ate that apple, and then you realize that it opens you to this weird semi-divine life of human beings where we are the controllers of the planet. Or think about it this way, like, even if you go to, I don't know, if you go to Yosemite Park or some national park and you want to go trailing, you go there and then you don't follow any path that people have done for you. You try to go in a path where no one has gone before. You will find it is so difficult to trudge through the thick forest floor, but towards the end, if it's worth it, you would be the first person who have trudged that road before and see, I don't know, at the end of the road, a magnificent view of a waterfall. Okay, now enter Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is a story about this lady who basically grew up knowing that she has this life but not really remembering what exactly happened before, and then only to realize that her whole life was a lie, that every single person was telling her this lie. But in particular, from the start to finish, it seems like the men, or the patriarchy, are the ones who are actually feeding these people this lie. And this is quite common. Even the people at the universities, if you ask them, like, oh man, yeah, we've just been fed this lie, all our societies is just feeding us all these lies. Like, really? Like where, how is that even possible? Now imagine if this was like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, before the age of internet, before the age of travel, before we even knew how to communicate between two languages. How is it possible that cross nations, that we somehow, a group of old white, see, that's also a bit wrong, isn't it? White patriarchal men who come up and congregate with each other and speak in their own tongue, and then decided to, like, let's oppress the women, right, in their own countries, right? And then somehow come up to the same conclusion that every single nation around the world, whether it's Asian countries, or whether it's American countries, or whether it's South American, whatever it is, all of them came to the same conclusion that we have to oppress the women. How is that even possible? So anyway, Captain Marvel goes on to this whole bit where you're being fed this lie, and that's why, what was her name? Captain something Davis, the protagonist of the show, which was played by Brie Larson, is basically fed this lie, only to realize that she had a past before, and somehow there are a group of really special elite women pilots who are basically hidden from everyone else because, like, they're just not allowed to shine because it's the time, right? Like, they were not allowed at that time, and so on and so on. Okay. And then you go to a point where suddenly your friends, where's the family? Where's the dad in this family? Like, why are you trying to promote the idea that single motherhood is, I mean, we all understand, people have to struggle, and I know a lot of mothers who are single who can handle the fatherhood part as well. And I also know a lot of fathers who are also single who handle their children, but it's a struggle. It's so much of a struggle because you're at 50% capacity of taking care of the child. So only to find out Captain Marvel was this person who is, in the end, a superhero, right? And not only is she a superhero, she's the strongest superhero in the whole wide world. Now, there's something lacking in this show because you're not showing, yes, you are showing that you've been oppressed and being lied to by army guys. Okay, first off, a little tip about the army guys. You are being trained in the army. If suddenly people treat you differently just because you are a woman as compared to a man, then suddenly the toughness program does not work, now does it? What was it? I read a newsletter about ladies who travel around the world, right? Traveled around the world over 190 or 150 countries, and then complaining that they're being attacked by human beings and saying, like, why are there evil people in this world? Men should only learn how to not be violent against women. Okay, when you're in a first world country, you can say that because things are getting better and easier for you. And mind you, those things are getting better and easier because of patriarchy in the first place, right? Patriarchy is the thing that created your iPhone, the technologies that you use to even have and develop such ease in your life. Like, Amazon wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have your packages in the cheapest way possible in your house without patriarchy. Anyway, so you have this weird lifestyle that's so easy and so regulated and trivial for you, to the point where you start to find faults in small little details, right? You've gone into the army, and then suddenly it's not fair for you to say, like, oh, just because you're a woman, I have to treat you lightly. The enemy will not treat you lightly. If the enemy's at the front gates and suddenly you see a woman, and then let's say, for example, your comrade dies, your comrade dies on the floor, and then he's like half injured, you're supposed to carry him, it'll probably take 3 or 4 women to drag that one guy from that one end to the other. Does that make sense? It would have been even harder for you to even carry a heavyweight woman, not let alone a 200, 300 pound guy. Okay, so what does that mean? So, okay, now you've been fed this lie for whatever reason, and suddenly you become a hero. A lot of people hated it because it's all based on simply weird ideologies, right? Like, you're being fed this lie. Oh my God. Now pay attention to the whole idea that you're blaming a complete set of other people for something that is, I don't understand. Like, where's the part where you're supposed to be blaming yourself for your own weaknesses? Instead, you're saying, well, the only reason why I'm weak is because you guys are not allowing me to be strong. Okay, enter Love, Death, and Robots. Love, Death, and Robots is this lovely, one of the episodes that we watch is Sonnie's Edge. Now, on Sonnie's Edge, it's a sort of a weird cyberpunk underground future where Sonnie, this lady who comes into this underground ring and suddenly has to fight in sort of a cockfighting pit with monsters and stuff. Right? Because it's so quick, immediately she's approached by this asshole of a patriarchy person who just comes in and who controls the drug ring possibly, and then basically says, well, if you lose, you get money, but in turn he will also get a lot more money. So that's a very common evil thing for human beings to have.
What would you say if I asked you to lose tonight's match?
Fuck off.
And yes, we agree, there are men who are like this. That's why we agree with this. Okay, but the difference between what he's doing and what the antagonists are in Captain Marvel is that these guys are not discriminating, right? He would have offered the same money pot to lose in this cockfighting ring, even if she was a she or a he. It doesn't really matter, because in the end he just wants money. Whereas in Captain Marvel, you're just basically saying, well, women are oppressed completely by one complete set of sex, which is men. Anyway, come to the story, you find she got raped, and that's actually real, because there are psychos in this world, and you expect that to happen from time to time, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Of course, nobody wants it, and it's such a horrible thing to have to face that. But the idea is that you overcome it, and this is what she's trying to show. Now, after the whole beautifully CGI, you just only need a little bit of CGI scene, but that's such a beautiful fight. Towards the end, she gets seduced. After she won the fight, she gets seduced by this one girl, and then this girl basically then sort of seduces her, and then got into this weird moment where it's a weird lesbian scene. Now, picture this, right? She's already a girl, and now she's homosexual on top of that. Now, all the lefties will always think like, oh my goodness, the conservatives or all the Republicans or all men basically would hate this character because she's a hero and she's a she, right? Based on their judgment. No, not really. So what happens is, and this is a spoiler alert, she gets seduced only to find out that she herself is not the cyber-linked persona that she thought she was. Now, this is a brilliant turn of event, because suddenly it shows that each human being should possess a little bit of a weird monster and evil in you, which is true, right? If you read anything close to 20th century philosophers like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, you would find that the line between good and evil runs through each heart, and you should have this little bit of evil. The idea is that you're supposed to control this evil. Now, the reason why you have to have this little bit of evil is not because you have to be evil, but it's because you have to fight against corrupted people. You have to fight against people who want to take advantage of you. You have to fight it, for example, when your boss is an asshole who makes you work overtime and not giving you an extra raise when you ask for it. It's the power tool for you to negotiate and to win certain things. It's the power for you to fight corrupt people. And this is brilliantly shown in the show, because it doesn't matter if you're a lady, if you're a transsexual person, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jew, or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter who you are. Do not play that race or sex or gender orientation or whatever it is kind of game. Do not play group identity politics, but think of the individual yourself, and then you would realize, find your weakness, acknowledge it. And then once you have that weakness, you overcome it. And then you show that you have this monster in you, which you keep at bay, right? What was it? Jordan Peterson also said, like, or was it, ones who keep their swords sheathed shall inherit the world, right? Means you know how to use a sword. You know how to attack people. You are evil in that sense. You have to have that raw intensity just to conquer something, just to defeat something. But at the same time, just to keep it at bay, only use it when it's needed. And suddenly, this female homosexual lady person who's playing in this game of monsters or whatever is not an ideological thing anymore. suddenly you become the hero that everyone once did. Anyway, if you like this kind of show, just hit subscribe or whatever it is that you see under there. And well, I'll see you up with the next rant, I guess. Peace.